Hey guys, how you going? I'm Layne Norton, and this is...
Oh my god, Holly.
I just took your intro.
It's fine.
That was why it was funny. So, we're less than a week into the prep, because we kind of started, we discussed this, we film on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, because that's when it's convenient for us, but your show's going to be on Saturday. So you started this past weekend.
Started dieting on the weekend.
Right, so
I actually started a day early. I started on Friday.
Okay, yeah, because you were antsy. Where did your weight top out at? Discuss that, and then where are you at now, and how do you feel about the first week?
Okay, my weight actually kind of crept up and was hovering in the mid to high 69 range. You'll love that number, I'm sure. All of the...
Why would I love that number?
No reason. You're just... Anyway, moving
on.
on.
Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Oh, a sexual reference.
Oh, yeah. The king of.
I hate those. What are you talking about?
So yeah, I was actually hovering around the mid 69 for probably the last 2 weeks of just sitting in maintenance before we started the diet. So I'd actually anticipated that I would stay like high 68s, and I didn't. Stop copying me.
I'm actually laughing about the 69 right now.
Oh, now you're laughing.
Yeah, I tried to keep it in, but it didn't work.
And so I started at 69.2, which was on Friday. I started a day early just because I was a little bit heavier. And obviously during the program, I'm going to be aiming for a certain amount of weight loss in the diet weeks. And because I was about 500 or 600 grams heavier, I just took it onto my sleeve to actually go and start a day earlier. I think probably doesn't make any difference. But anyway, this week...
I think I heard a few...
I came in this morning at around 68.8. However, my average is 68.9. So it has been trending down since I started. But caveat to that, I actually also am about to start my monthlies again. So hopefully that will really just pee off in a few weeks, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. But yeah, that's also going to be something to consider for this week's lack of progress, I think.
Well, I don't think it was lack of progress. You're not all the way a full week into dieting. Yeah. So you've only been 5 days.
Yeah.
And so you've lost, what was the average loss compared to the week before? About 500 grams?
Yeah, I've lost 500 grams.
So that's still pretty good progress, all things considered.
Yeah, well, my target was 650 for the weeks that I'm dieting.
So you're really not that far off.
Yeah, I'm really hoping next week it'll just go...
Yeah, well, I think part of the thing is you're used to previously when you would diet, because you would kind of have some setbacks here and there, because for those that, hopefully it's okay for me to talk about this, but when your stress response is you're an eater.
Yes.
So... like you used to have really bad binge eating episodes where like completely uncontrollable, like if you got stressed out, that would just be it. And so your last prep, what would happen is you would drop a lot of weight when you were compliant, and then boom, you would shoot up 3 kilos.
Right. So I think in some of the non-compliant weeks in previous contest preps, and it made it more difficult because I hadn't properly repaired my metabolism. So I was actually trying to hit much lower targets too. So I think obviously your hunger hormones are going to let you know about that. So it was more difficult already. But yeah, in those situations, I probably would go over my targets probably by 200 or 300. So it wasn't a significant amount, but I think when you're that metabolically adapted,
well, it's also a big difference between going to 200 or 300 calories over when you're on 1,200 calories versus 200-300 calories over when you're on 1,800 calories.
It's relative.
Right? The percentage increase is much less.
Yes.
But the other thing is you would have some where you were like thousands over, and then you would just respond to that by not eating the next day.
Yeah, I would have to do like I was my worst enemy, and I'm sure like I have clients that be watching this, and my biggest thing is if you go over and you go over by a small amount, let's say take carbohydrates, and it might be that you go out and you're over by 20 grams, and you might only be over by 8 to 10 on your fats. That is a better amount to have gone over by, because then you can break it up and catch back up, maybe over 2 or 3 days. But once you start to push that number out a little bit more, and you're trying to catch up like 50, 60, 70 grams of carbs and high numbers for fats, it is incredibly difficult to try and rate that all back in by the end of the week.
You can even you kind of got caught in this vicious cycle of you would overeat, and so then you'd have to get really aggressive.
Yeah,
and then you would overeat again because you were so hungry and stressed.
Yeah, and your body does not give two shits whether you overate the previous day. If you're hungry right here, right now, it's going to let you know about it. Yeah. So it's just a really difficult thing to try and catch up with. So,
but I think part of the reason that like you're probably expecting this first week to have like a really big weight loss.
Yeah, I was.
Because that's what you're used to.
Yeah.
But that's also because you would usually overeat, so you have an artificially inflated number.
Yeah.
And then you would really restrict, and so you were used to these big fluctuations.
Yeah.
Now you're probably not going to have such big fluctuations, but hopefully more steady, sustainable progress. And that's one of the reasons that you said that last time. By the end, you had to get so aggressive, and your calories were pretty low, but your cardio was insane. Like you were doing, how much activity were you doing? Plus, you were a PT that was you were on your feet all day, every day.
Yeah, I think I was down probably around 1,400 calories towards the end of my prep. So, I mean, that's high for some people, but again, it's relative to your lean body mass and what you do. But to make
also a lot of activity.
I was doing a huge number of hours on my feet, like PTing, so I had a very active job. Like it's kind of laborious, like you're picking up weights all day after people. And then I was also having to do probably 5 or 6 days of cardio as well as my 5 or 6 days of weights training. So for me to actually maintain that was incredibly difficult. I remember sleeping in my car. Like in between clients, if I had like a 30-minute break. It sounds ridiculous, and I'm usually pretty up and go, and yeah, it was awful. But that, it was my own fault. I just thought I could do everything, and I couldn't, and I didn't give myself any time to.
We both learned that we're our own worst enemies with trying to give ourselves too many things to do.
Yeah, so we're working on that. But you actually asked a completely different question before. It was about what did my weight get down to. So.
Well, no, Bob, we were talking about like. You were probably a little bit disappointed by that progress, but that's actually really good progress.
Yeah, and I also have to understand as well that this week being a week where I'm due to have my monthlies, it's probably, I think if I can just hover around this weight, I know that next week when I'm off, it's going to drop the way that it should. So I'm feeling a little bit probably nervous about the process. Like I've just done this awesome reverse diet and I've got my calories up really high, and right now I'm a good 600 below what I was at. So I've gone from sitting around 2,300, 2,400 calories, I'm sitting at 1,700. That's a big drop. I'm feeling hungry at the end of the day. I can't sit down now and have the snack with Layne when we're watching telly before we go to bed. So it's kind of like, I'm doing this for what? But it will happen. I just know that I just have to be patient.
And keep in mind too that, the reason we're doing this and the reason we're going slower is because you felt like you lost a lot of lean body mass by the end of your last contest prep. Yeah. And that hurt you because a lot of the girls you were going up against had more muscle than you.
Yeah, or not natural athletes. So I was really doing myself an unjust.
Yeah, and you're doing a non-tested show again, and you're a natural athlete. So this is, you're already at a disadvantage. So keeping as much lean body mass as we can is huge.
And that kind of brings us, I guess, to the point of the setup.
The topic for this week.
Yeah.
That we took 8 minutes to get to.
We actually really wanted to talk to you guys about optimizing your contest preparation to make sure that you're getting significant fat loss progress, but also helping to maintain your lean muscle and protect your metabolism. So this is probably about the normal duration that I would choose to do a competition prep, but previously it's needed to be that long because I have stuffed it up so many times during that process. So it's been needed to be so long because I stuffed it up so often. This time we've done all the precautionary steps to get me metabolically really healthy, I guess. So now we actually have the opportunity to implement the diet break. So the Matador study, let's talk about that. And there's plenty of other research out there at the moment which looks at diet breaks, and it's not a new concept. It's just probably a little bit more talked about now. Yeah.
So the concept is that you do your diet weeks, and then you have a period of time at maintenance at your current maintenance calories, and that seems to, compared to equating for just steady dieting at the same total calories for the duration of the diet, that seems to produce better results in terms of fat loss efficiency and lean body mass retention and sparing of metabolic rate. All things that are really important for us. So in the Matador study, they did 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
1 week off, wasn't it? Oh,
no, 2 weeks off. Right. 2 weeks off. 2 weeks on, 2 weeks maintenance. The problem with that now, a few things to consider with that. They started them out at 67% of their maintenance calories. That is actually very aggressive.
Very.
Like that would be under 1,400 or about 1,400 calories.
I was just about to say, for me at 2,300, like 67% of that is a ridiculously low number. So, like I would really find that hard to
and even though it's only 2 weeks, it's still difficult.
Yeah.
So we're doing. The other thing is too is by doing 2 and 2, you're going to get a pretty protracted. Even though you're not dieting or in a deficit all those weeks, it still is mentally fatiguing to track and to like maintenance isn't exactly a free for all.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Your maintenance is probably 2,000 somewhere around there, so it's not exactly a free for all. Like it's a good amount of food. So we're trying, and this is something I've had good success with my clients, and you've had good success with your clients.
Yes.
We're doing a 2-week diet at not as aggressive as that 67% drop. We're doing a 2-week diet followed by a 1-week period at maintenance. And that seems to have worked very, very well for a lot of my clients, a lot of your clients. And I think it's going to work well for you. Yeah. Hopefully sparing more lean body mass, sparing more metabolic rate, better performance. And I just find that it also gives you that nice mental break.
Yeah,
right?
I think you have something to kind of look forward to. You know, after 2 weeks of dieting, you're like, great, now I can kind of, it's not relax, you still have to do the work. Trust me, don't get me wrong when I say, oh, it's going to be super easy. It's still, you've got to put in the work. But it's just a little bit more enjoyable as far as a process. And remember, like, the whole reason you do this for most people is you just want to have fun with it. You want to get to the end and go, wow, I did this, but you want to be able to enjoy your life.
So that's an important thing to point out. I remember when I was about 25 years old, I was checking out a supermarket. I'm going somewhere with this story, I promise.
Okay.
And the kid who was checking me out, he wasn't like really like checking me out. He was just scanning my items, checking me out. Maybe he was checking me out. I don't know. I had like a tight shirt on, and he was like, "Oh, do you do bodybuilding?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, do you compete?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, is it fun?" And I thought about that for a second. I'm like, nobody's ever asked me if bodybuilding was fun. And I said, yeah, I do have fun with it overall. There's some really, really tough parts and some things suck, but I actually really enjoy the process. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. If you don't actually enjoy the process, you probably shouldn't be doing it, just saying.
Yeah, or if you're going to do this, or for whatever your reason might be, everybody does these things for different reasons, try and do it in a way that you do enjoy. And I think this is certainly a way that you can still have a social life, still do things, still have families.
And you can plan these. Like we're going to the Olympia in Vegas.
Yes.
So, by the way, we're doing a seminar in Vegas Sunday, September 16th. You want to sign up for that?
Yes,
we'll put a link in the description.
I'm flying the high week on the week we're in Vegas.
Right,
Olympia,
so you can enjoy yourself a little bit more. Exactly.
Yes.
The other thing to consider is people set up fat loss diets, and we touched on this a little bit in the last video, and they said, well, they just calculate based on the fat they're going to lose. And the research on natural bodybuilders says that you're not going to maintain all your lean body mass. There's only one study in existence where the person maintained, or one case study where a person maintained or gained lean body mass during a contest prep, and this was a female competitor. And I feel like maybe they weren't very advanced, and they got them on a proper program or something like that.
Maybe they were starting from nothing. Who knows?
For everybody else, there were some people who were as low as a 10% loss in lean body mass. One case study was 51% of the weight they lost was from lean body mass. And let's talk about some of the differences between those. The average is right around 30%. 30% of the weight you're going to lose is from lean body mass. Now, first of all, lean body mass, not the same thing as muscle mass. Muscle mass is a component of lean body mass. But lean body mass encompasses all of your non-fat tissues. Skin, bone,
hair,
organs,
nails,
liver, everything. Okay? And the other thing is water. Water is a huge component of lean body mass. So when people hear that 30% number, I know what they're thinking at home. Oh my God, they must have had terrible preps. That must have sucked. No, that's
normal.
That's the normal. Okay, you're going to lose some lean body mass for the most part. There's probably some exceptions to that rule. But if you do, it's not the worst thing in the world because a lot of that is water, not actual muscle tissue.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the problems with the DEXA scan. It is raved on about in the fitness industry. For some reason, it just gained this godly...
Yeah, it's not that accurate.
Yeah, it's not. It's only a 2-compartment model. It literally just looks at
fat
and fat-free mass. So, and that incorporates all those things. So it's accurate, but you've got to consider what the amount of water that you are actually
and even
losing.
right down to your digestive tissues, your intestine, your large intestine, your liver.
Yeah, you're eating less.
All shrink when you diet down.
Yeah.
Do you say shitting less?
No, shedding.
All of them.
Shedding.
Oh, shedding. Well, that goes to shitting though, because that's what most of poop is. But yes, all those tissues shrink. So we don't want to lose lean body mass. We want to spare as much as we can. 50% is too much. Mm-hmm. If we're doing better than 30%, if we're doing less loss of lean body mass than 30% of the weight we lose, we're doing better than the average. So that's what we want to do.
So that brings me to one real quick point. Do not try to, when you're actually doing your diet weeks, if you're going to implement diet breaks, try not to exceed greater than 1% of your total body weight in the week of dieting, because this seems to show increased rates of lean body mass loss. So right now I'm sitting at probably around 0.7 to 0.85 is what I'm kind of targeting at. It is a little aggressive, but I'm also kind of making up for that by having this diet break.
Yeah. The one study that showed like really high loss of lean body mass in that individual, they were doing a very aggressive fat loss. I believe they were trying to lose about 1.2% of their body weight per week. And that was the one that lost over 50% of their weight from lean body mass. So we would discourage people from doing that. And that means that your typical, like, what does everybody prep, what amount of prep time does everybody do for their first show? 12 weeks. 12 weeks. You ask them, hey, you can have somebody who is completely shredded. How long do they need? 12 weeks. This is the bro coaches out there. And then somebody who's clinically obese, how long do I need?
12 weeks.
12 weeks. So just follow my 5-step plan.
But yeah, that's not
Step 1, give me your money. Step 2, I give you a meal plan. That's the same one that I give to everybody else.
Yeah.
Step 3, there is no step 3 because there's no follow-up help. Step 4, you suck. Step 5, I just don't talk about you.
So,
hi, bro coaches.
I have to live with this guy. Can you imagine that?
Awful.
So this is not the only way to actually implement diet breaks either. The research seems to indicate or suggest that around 3 days is the minimum at maintenance is about the minimum that you would need to actually get those benefits. Now, it might not be the best way.
Right.
We don't quite have enough information right now, but if you can put those kind of scheduled maintenance days into your contest prep, you're going to have far less metabolic adaptation and a better chance of actually retaining your lean body mass. So
yeah. And one thing I want to point out, like, just because a study does something a certain way, so Matador was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
It could be the second worst way.
Yeah, so this is something I learned from Mike Zordos. Mike Zordos showed a study where he compared 2 different forms of daily undulating periodization, and one was better than the other. And what he said, I really remember, he said, this doesn't mean that this is the best way to do this. We might have just found the second worst form of periodization out there. It just means that it's better than this one. Mm-hmm. And so all we know is that the 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off is better than straight dieting, right? But maybe 2 weeks on, 1 week off is better. Mm. Maybe 3 weeks on, 1 week off is better. Maybe 3 weeks on, 2 weeks off. Maybe 4 weeks on, 2 weeks off. We don't know. That's the research isn't out there. Now we know somebody who we met at the JPS summit in Australia, Jackson. He's actually trying to set up. I think it's going to be study looking at a different time frame of weight loss and then maintenance. So that'll be interesting to see what he comes up with. But in the meantime, as coaches, we kind of just have to test things. And I've found that 2 weeks on, 1 week off seems to be a pretty sustainable and seems to give a good benefit. So that's what we're doing. And if we can encourage the rest of you out there, give yourselves enough time to prep.
Yeah,
okay?
Don't try and do this in 8 weeks. I had someone come to me yesterday. They just finished a show and they're down at like 900 calories. And she's like, oh, I want to do a show in September. It's 8 weeks away. I'm just...
Motherfucker,
like,
what?
You got like, she had like 12 pounds to lose.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at that going, how? So timing, planning, scheduling. Don't just do this, off the cuff. It needs to be something that's really well organized, because every time you diet... there's this thing that you said, it's like you're activating your body's self-defense system. Yeah. It is not something to be messed with. So just be really careful.
Dieting is like war. Get in, get out. Mm-hmm. Dominate. All right, so I think we're going to sit down and look at your... Dominate! We're going to sit down, look at your numbers from this week, and kind of walk everybody through everything.
Okay, cool. Let's have a quick look at how I've actually done this week with my weight. So I started on Friday last week. I didn't actually have my weight for that particular day. I did for the day before. So I'm here at 69.2. Then going through the weekend, I've come down a little bit, and then through to Monday 2 days ago, 68.5, and now I'm hitting menstrual, so it's probably going to start coming back up, but I really hope it stays in the 68s. So that's kind of where my weight has been. It averages out at 68.9. Moving over to my goals for the week. So this week I was planning to hit 165 protein, 52 carbs, and 52 fats. Total calories 1736. You can see here the week's tracking pretty good on my protein, which is unusual. Usually I go way over and I sacrifice some carbs and fats if I need to, but I actually was fairly compliant this week. And then pretty good on my calories overall. So you can see here, I'm in the 17, just a little bit low on this particular day. So overall, if you have a look here at my compliance to calories from the 5 days that I've actually been dieting, 98%, 100% on track with protein, which is awesome, and I'm a little under on my carbs and fats. However, that doesn't include the alcohol that I had, so that's probably a bit higher. So,
but this is the previous week, right?
This is from last week.
Right, so you didn't start dieting till here.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah. So.
But your calories are about the same though, so you were dieting.
Huh? No. This is not meant to be here.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. There we go.
Oh, so this is for yesterday.
That's yesterday.
Ah, okay.
That's yesterday.
Got it. All
that
right.
was Monday.
Well,
today is Wednesday, guys. Just in case you.
Okay.
Just to help.
Well, that might help because people wouldn't understand then.
Right. Okay. So yeah, today it's Wednesday. I don't have anything logged. All right. So looking at that, looking at what my weight has done. What do you think we are going to do? Because I didn't really have a huge amount of loss. I'm meant to be losing 650 grams per week on my diet weeks. And if we look at this, I've only lost 300 grams, 69.2 to 68.
Well, a couple things. You have 2 days left.
I do have 2 days.
You had a pretty salty meal last night, which can affect things. And when you're on your period, when you're premenstrual, women actually retain more sodium anyway.
Yeah.
So I would say, let's at least wait until the weekend.
This week.
Let's at least wait until the weekend. I'm not even going to dignify that with a response. Let's at least wait till the weekend and then make a determination from there. But I don't think we need to do anything just yet. I think overreacting at this point is probably the biggest mistake we can make.
Yeah.
And I think just trusting the process a little bit.
Yeah.
And I always think about, okay, what would I tell a client?
Yeah.
Right?
Let's
and if a client came to me with this, I would go, chill out. Let's see what happens.
Something's going to happen in the next few days.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident in that. It's just, you've got to be patient.
It's also about trusting the process too, because if you don't believe the process is going to work, there's a powerful mind connection there. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like if somebody doesn't believe it's going to work, it's not going to work. So believing that it's going to work, trusting the process, and it's going to work.
Yeah. So to summarize, we're not actually going to change my macros. They're going to stay at 165 protein, 152 carbs, and 52 fats. And if I haven't changed by the weekend, which will be like up to 10 days on these numbers, I'm probably going to make a little bit of a drop just so that by the time we get through to the 2 weeks of dieting, I've made some kind of a progress, like closer to what I actually need to be so that I'm not having to play really hardball at the end of the diet phase. So yeah, I think very sensible to just kind of see how things pan out over the next few days. I'm going to be back home. I have a kitchen now, almost have a kitchen now, and I'll be able to actually weigh things correctly, eat things accurately. I'm not just based off funny
We've been
labels.
having a home remodel for the last month.
We have not had a kitchen. I haven't cooked a meal in over 2 months.
Yeah.
Except for the day I did all my meals from my recipe book. Oh my god, I said I wasn't going to cook ever again after that. I did 60 meals, not really, but a lot of meals, so yeah, that gave me my fix. But it's been really hard because we have not had the ability to cook anything. I had to change my diet completely. My fiber intake, just being really honest, would be below 15, probably 4 out of 7 days. I track this, don't shake your head.
That's why God made Quest bars.
Yeah, I feel so bloated and gross. I have been constipated some days because I'm just eating awfully. So I'm very excited to have a kitchen going in this week, and I can really start to get things accurate because up until now it's just been very
We haven't had a rhythm.
Yeah, no rhythm and very relaxed way of tracking because I haven't had the ability to do it super accurate, and it's important now. So, yeah. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. We hope that you are enjoying the series. I guess it's 2 weeks in. There'll be a lot more exciting things coming up over the next... I feel so sorry for you on your knees. Not really. You've got a lovely sponge knee. Yeah, so...
And with that, we'll catch you guys next week.
Have a great week.